Morning, folks. Thanks for joining our Zoom this morning with Drew. As always, if you guys would use the raise hand function on the Zoom and we can get to questions for Drew. Go ahead, Tyler Donahue, start us off.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning, Drew. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I actually wanted to ask about one of your fellow quarterbacks before we get into you. James Franklin has mentioned Ethan Grunkemeyer a couple times recently as saying they really feel like he's taken another step. They feel like he could play in a game. It doesn't seem like we may get a chance to see him in game action though this year. So could you tell us maybe from your standpoint why Ethan Grunkemeyer is game ready right now and what he's done to put himself in that position?
Yeah, I mean, I think it started with his process and the way he's been working throughout the whole season. Obviously, as a true freshman, figuring things out, balancing school and football and everything else that comes with being a quarterback at Penn State. And I think the last really month to month and a half, he's really hit his stride and figuring out what works for him in terms of preparing. And then also, I think he's given our defense a great look. Like I mean, he shows up on our Tuesday, Wednesday tapes a ton just with the throws he's making. So I think he's really just hit his stride, and I think it's just a testament to how he's been working. And I knew that obviously I've known him for a little bit now before he got here, and I knew he was wired similar to me in the terms of the way he wants to get better and the way he works. So I had no doubt that he had a bright future ahead of him. But it's definitely cool to see just his development throughout the short time that he's been here.
Audrey Snyder.
Hey Drew, thanks for the time. Good work on the tree behind you. It looks good.
Thank
Uh,
you.
I wanted to ask you, kind of going back. I know so much of this off season you were talking about how you changed your body composition and how that was such a point of emphasis. And I'm sure that couldn't have been easy, right? Like, what was the biggest challenge of that for you in terms of increasing mobility? But obviously, I'm sure like there were a lot of changes you had to make, probably with your diet as well, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing for me with my diet was really just eliminating carbs, not eliminating them, but like limiting them. And Leanne, our nutritionist, has done a great job with the whole team, but she really helped me a ton ever since I stepped on campus. And then it was me just being sticking to that routine and sticking to that process and being disciplined with it. And I think it's shown off this year so far. But that was probably the hardest thing with just diet is being disciplined with it and not because if you're inconsistent with it, you're gonna see results, but probably at a much slower rate. And then it came into the physical part with the strength staff, just doing extra work with them, whether it be mobility work with hips, and stuff like that, or just being on the treadmill a little bit longer, like just different points throughout the summer to just help me lose that weight. And I think it's really helped me a ton this year, and I'm definitely glad all that work that I did over the summer and spring that has really started to pay off for me throughout the year so far.
Rich Scarcella.
Thanks, Matt. Good morning, Drew. Thanks again for doing this. Drew, much has been said, whether it's James or Andy, about your preparation work and how early you're in the building. So, what time do you get up? What time do you get in the building? How long do you stay there? And generally, how much film preparation do you do in a week?
Yeah, so for me, every day is a little bit different because of my class schedule. But like to start the week, Monday, I wake up probably anywhere between like probably like 5:40, 5:45, and I try to get into the facility around like right around 6:15 or 6 o'clock. And for me, it's just diving into the film myself, getting my initial thoughts, writing my thoughts down on things I see that we could work for us or take advantage of, and giving those to Danny and Coach K. Tuesday's a little bit different. I wake up, but I don't go into the facility early. I stay at home and just study the plays that are posted to our Just Play app. And just kind of rehearse those and just go to class and then head into the facility. Today I went in really early, got in around 6, watched yesterday's practice, watched the third down tape on Minnesota and the protection tape, and then I had a lift. And then tomorrow I go in pretty early again. Friday it kind of depends on home and away game. But if it's a home game, I'll go in early. Away game, I kind of you're there early anyways. So I don't know the total amount of hours that I'm in there, but I mean I'm pretty much in their day round. Like I probably won't leave till whatever, like 7, 8 o'clock on most days.
How many hours a week do you sleep? How many hours a night do you sleep? And just what time do you go to bed?
I mean, I get a good like 7.5 hours to 8 hours. I try to stay disciplined with that. Obviously, sometimes it's gets skewed a little bit with classwork and coursework and things like that, getting caught up on some things. So I try to get as much sleep as I can, just because I know it's really good for recovery and just for going into the next day, just waking up and ready to go to work and not waking up drowsy.
Shane Thomas.
Hey, Drew, how are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Doing great. Just wanted to ask you about talked to Coach Franklin on Monday about, preparing for this Minnesota secondary and a team. They have 8 different players that have had interceptions this year. So going into a game against a defense that likes to ball hawk and they also play zone, what have been some of your keys this week as far as your preparation, some things you've seen on film from them?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the biggest thing is, like you said, they do have some ball hawks in their secondary, but they make plays when the plays come to them. So it's not like I can't have any unforced errors. I can't just give them opportunities because they'll capitalize on it. And, a decent amount of their picks have actually been forced by their D line, whether it's like a batted a tip pass that, just falls into a linebacker, or the quarterback getting hit and the ball, obviously is inaccurate when the quarterback's getting hit and just finds a way to their hands. But I think for us, we've always preached about ball security, no matter who we're going against, and it's definitely a talking point for us every week. So we're going to take great pride in that, and we want to win the turnover battle every week, force turnovers on defense, and limit turnovers on offense. So obviously with a team like this, the way they're built, they're similar to us in the fact that they want to control the ball and they want to force turnovers. So we're just going to have to be disciplined and stick to our game plan, and not have any unforced errors that will put us in a bad situation on offense.
Johnny McGonigal.
Hey, Drew, thanks for your time as always. Much appreciated. In what areas have you seen Nick Singleton grow this year? Now that you're 10 games into the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think just really in his pass game, just how involved he is in our pass game and how much he brings to that. And I think he was good at it when he first got here and even last year. But I think this year, him and Katron have taken their like just receiving game to a different level. I always see him on the jugs on Sunday during special teams periods. And I also think his leadership, obviously Nick's not the most vocal guy, but I think you can see with the passion that he has and the passion that he plays with out on the field, and that's a form of leadership, and he holds guys accountable. Like when, especially in his running back room, like I think he's a really good guy for the younger running backs to look up to. Same with Katron, like they're both very good role models to those younger running backs in that room. So I think there's been a lot of things, but I would say like just his receiving skills in general and his leadership style.
Max Ralph.
Hey, Drew, appreciate the time. I wanted to follow up a little bit on what you said about the Minnesota interceptions being caused by the D line. How much do you think of this year's improvement, next step for you, has come from pre-snap things, whether it's identifying coverage, setting protection, et cetera? How much has that impacted what you've been able to do this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely has. And I think just honestly, like last year, going through it for the first time as a starter and getting so many reps, run and pass game, like that helped me a ton with experience. And I think Coach K and Coach Trout do a great job of, setting the O line up for success on certain plays, and then, giving me alerts on when we want to get out of plays and versus what coverages or what looks we want to get out of plays. And I think just my overall like preparation leads into that, like being comfortable what the pre-snap pictures can look like with different blitzes, different coverages, and then also like what the post-snap picture is going to look like. And at the end of the day, I'm going to go through my progressions, and even if technically like a progression can't be there, like based off the coverage, like they still could be there if the defense drops something. So it's just trusting my reads and progressions, and just doing all the things that we preach, just staying within the system. And then when things do break down, I have to scramble. The receivers have done a great job of working, like getting a lot better on our scramble drill rules, and I think that's really paid off for us this year at this point.
Tyler Donahue.
Drew, we heard from James Franklin Saturday in post game that he thinks all awards should be on the table for Tyler Warren, including the Heisman Trophy. That's typically been a quarterback award. Usually we're focused on quarterbacks this time of the year, but it's a little bit different. So, from your perspective as a quarterback, as the one who's orchestrating this offense, what is your case for Tyler Warren to be a legitimate Heisman Trophy contender a few weeks down the road?
Yeah, I mean, I think just his impact on the offense, and again, like I don't think we've ever seen a tight end do what he has been doing this whole year. Receiving wise, obviously his stats are really good, and in the run game, and I mean he's lined up everywhere for us, and I think he's been a very big asset to our offense. I don't think you could ever argue that. Like we want to get him involved in any way we can, whether it's in the option game or him taking the snaps, and I think he just makes our offense go. And honestly, like he does a lot of the dirty work that won't be on Sports Center or anything like that, or show up on the stats. Like he's the best tight end in America, but he's also the most complete tight end in America. Like it's not just he's not just like a great receiving tight end. He can literally do anything that you ask him to. And I think just how like smart he is and how valuable he is to our offense. I don't think there's a tight end that has had as big of an impact on an offense than he has had. And I think just he should be recognized for that just because of again, like I don't know if a tight end has ever done what he's been doing.
Rich Scarcella.
Drew, how do you balance focusing on the task at hand and wondering where or following what your position is in the college football playoff rankings? And what's your reaction when you hear people say that your team hasn't played anybody or is overrated?
I mean, I don't care about what anybody else says about us because the reality is like, we're the only ones that know what we go through and we can't control what anybody else says. So we can't waste energy on people that, have their own opinions and that they're entitled to. But at the end of the day, if we're worrying about what other people say, that's taken away from the task at hand. And again, Minnesota is like a really good team. They play extremely hard through the whistle. So it's going to be a challenge this weekend. And I think the Big Ten is like, I mean, it's a top conference across America. And I think, the quality of teams that we go in each and play each week, speaks for itself. And I think we found different ways to win throughout this year. But as far as rankings, like it doesn't really matter until it matters. Like it doesn't matter right now. Like we still have a lot of ball to play in front of us. And again, like we're going up to a team in Minnesota that's playing really, really good ball right now on both sides of the ball. And we're going to have to, we have a challenge in front of us. So we're going to have to go out and execute the game plan that the coaches have put together so far for us this week.
Audrey Snyder, last question.
Sure, this one's a little random, but are you aware that you guys are playing for a trophy this weekend and that Penn State plays Minnesota in a trophy game? Has that been mentioned at all or?
It hasn't been mentioned, but I remember because we played them my freshman year. So I remember the trophy, in our locker room after the game. So I couldn't tell you what the trophy is named though. I'm not gonna lie. But it's all. I think that's one of the coolest things about college football is just the trophy games in general. And just how cool some of them look and somehow some of them look odd. So I think it's the cool thing about college football. But I mean, again, like it's going to be extremely hard challenge for us this weekend. So we can't worry about the trophy. We just got to worry about Minnesota.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Drew.
Drew.
Appreciate
Yeah.
Thanks, folks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.